Am I the idiot for announcing my wife's second pregnancy in front of my sister who cannot have kids and asked for my money to help pay for her IVF? My wife and I have a 3-year-old son and we're expecting our second child next year. Both our children were conceived via IVF. We spent years trying for our first with no success, and it took 4 cycles of IVF to have him. It was brutal on my wife. But we both felt like trying for biological children was the way to go for us. We tried naturally for a second child after our first turned 1 but had 0 luck. We were left with the money for 1 cycle of IVF, which we decided to pursue if we didn't have any luck naturally, which we didn't. Around a year ago, my wife and I were gearing up to start the ball rolling on our IVF journey when my sister came and asked if she could have the money to try IVF herself. My sister has no bio kids but does have an 11-year-old stepson. She has endometriosis and PCOS and has never been able to have a child. Her stepson is not very close to her and they've had problems with him since the start of their marriage. Her stepson has always brought up the fact his dad married again too soon after his mom died and how my sister is trying to replace her. He ran away from home 3 times already. They also had the police and CPS on their door because he tried to get removed from their care. Our main reason for saying no is we wanted to give our son a sibling. But I can't lie and say that the dynamic in her home was on my mind too. And I wasn't sure it was a good idea to bring a new baby into their home when things are as bad as they are. She was very upset with me for turning her down. She said she has no kids and we already have 1 and we'd give her a chance if we gave her the money. I shut her down. I told her my answer was no and it was final. We waited for my wife to be far enough along before announcing our last IVF cycle worked. We did this at a family dinner. Everyone was so happy for us except for my sister and her husband. She started making snarky comments about how it was no big deal when we already had a kid. I told her given our struggles it was a big deal. Our parents told her she should be happy for us. She then starts ranting and raving about how selfish we are to deny her motherhood and to deny her and her husband the chance to have a family together. Our other sister pointed out about her stepson. She told her she's not his mother and he hates her guts, so it's not like she'll ever get any joy out of mothering him. I told her I was sorry she could not have a kid of her own, but she didn't get to demand we sacrifice a second child for her. She then told me I held her stepson against her. I told her I couldn't say that it hadn't crossed my mind that bringing a child into what is already a complicated mess would be a bad idea. But that it was beside the point because we wanted another child. She told me I was an asshole for humiliating her in front of the whole family and picking a fight with her. I told her she picked the fight, not me. Comment 1. What bothers me the most here is the assumption that the IVF will work anyway. IVF is already a crapshoot, and that's when you're totally healthy. Sister here has endometriosis and PCOS, couple that with IVF high failure rate. How many cycles was she expecting her brother to actually pay for exactly? Comment 2. I know someone who tried for 10 years. I never had the heart to ask how many cycles they did, but they were lawyers and had high incomes and lived very frugally to afford it. The vast majority of IVF parents I've met have sunk between 60-80K into trying to have kids. Over half the time, the embryo didn't take from what I've heard from those parents. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my sister's boyfriend he should probably get a fucking job? My sister, 22, is starting med school in the fall. She has been dating Jack, 23, since high school. He has been in college for 5 years now, changed his major twice and only has an associate's. We were having a dinner to celebrate my sister and my whole family was there. Jack decided to tell everyone at my sister's dinner that his parents told him they wouldn't pay for his schooling anymore. My sister started to comfort and reassure him. It pissed me off that she had to do that at her own party. I told the boyfriend I could help him with his resume, but he said he didn't need to work on his resume since he didn't have his degree yet. I asked what exactly his plan was, and he said he didn't have one yet. I changed the topic to my sister's upcoming trip she's taking with her friends. Jack then uses this to transition to talking about how he wants to apply to study abroad but is not sure how he will pay for it. I said I've always found the best way to make money is with a job. He glared at me, and my dad changed the topic. After dinner, Jack came up to me and asked if I had a problem. I said I didn't appreciate him tainting my sister's event with his sob story about how he couldn't get a 4-year degree in 5 years. He said I was a hypocrite with a useless art degree that doesn't even use my degree in my job. I said that's irrelevant because I have a job and he should probably fucking get one too, because my sister is a student and can't afford to carry his worthless ass. He called me a self-righteous prick and left. I've been thinking about it, and I think I overreacted, and I could have just blown him off and not talked to him when he came up to me. I doubt cussing at him is going to convince him, so I probably shouldn't have done that. Comment 1. Yeah, the boyfriend isn't trying to steal the spotlight. He is trying to guilt people who may be in a charitable mood due to the celebration into funding his schooling. Comment 2. He might have actually hit his eligible credits through FAFSA if his parents took out loans instead of paying it outright. I transferred schools and had to redo a bunch of credits because of it, and ended up just barely hitting my limit. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for punishing our nieces and nephews over the damage my BIL did to our house? I have a home office and decided to have some light renovations done. I looked into hiring a professional contractor, but my wife wanted me to hire her brother. I was hesitant. First, he's a handyman and not a contractor. Second, he doesn't have insurance or even many of the tools required to do this job. All of the contractors I spoke to are insured and he had to borrow my tools. Third, I had to pay him money up front to cover the cost of materials while the contractors all have accounts with suppliers, so they didn't require any upfront money. My wife talked me into it because he needs the money and has a family. We decided to take a vacation while he was going to do the work and came back to a mess. The carpet was soaked and moldy. Nothing was done. Materials were everywhere and it smelled like a swamp in our house. Apparently when he drilled into the wall, he didn't locate the water line and hit it. He only noticed the leaking when he came back from lunch and the carpet was soaked. He tried to find the shut-off, but couldn't, so he tore into the wall to try and stop the leaking, which made it worse, on top of which he couldn't stop it there either. He panicked and called a coworker who came over hours later and found the shut-off. Instead of calling us immediately, he left the house as it was, and I guess it was out of sight, out of mind. The repair cost ended up being triple the original cost. Since his family is living on Section 8 housing and other government assistance, we decided last year to start saving to take them and her parents on a beach vacation this year in December as their Christmas gift. We told them about it a couple of months ago so everyone could get their calendar in order. I told my wife we should cancel the trip and apply that money to the cost of the repairs. This has caused an argument between us. My wife said it's not fair to punish her nieces, nephews, and parents since they've been excited about the trip and they could never afford to go on their own. I argued we can't afford to eat the cost without it affecting our budget. She loves her nieces and nephews and keeps on saying I'm unfairly punishing them. We're supposed to go to her parents for dinner tonight and she forbade me to cancel the trip or even bring up the subject. I don't think I can look at her stupid brother without calling him stupid. Comment 1. As the well-off sibling, you are correct, and to save my own marriage I had to start putting up boundaries real quick. I have one sibling who never has money to eat or pay bills, but always has money to go away on a vacation. I've had to learn that if they got money for vacations, they don't need my money for bills. Comment 2. I don't think so, not if they bring it up in front of the kids and try to make OP look like a bad, evil, cheap uncle who doesn't love them. If they drag the kids into the fight, the kids should know the truth. Based on this family, I'm almost 90% sure that they will try to manipulate OP by telling their kids, so he should be honest and tell them your dad damaged my house and now that money for your vacation needs to fix it. No insults, no shifting on him, just the truth. Now if on the off chance they don't involve the kids, there's no reason to tell them. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for asking my wife to wake me up at night when our newborn wakes up? My wife, 35F, and I, 35M, just had our third child 1 month ago, 4 weeks. For the first week or two my wife had to wake him up every couple hours to feed him, but now we just let him sleep until he wakes up to eat. Here's where that becomes a problem. I am a really heavy sleeper. There is nothing that can wake me up short of being attacked by a bear or shaken or something. It's been that way since way before my wife and I had kids. Babies crying or screaming do not wake me up. They didn't even when we had our first 8M. So usually I've woken up when my wife turns on the lights for changing and stuff like that. Apparently I sleep through a lot when my wife is getting up a lot, so she is saying she does an unfair amount of work at night because of it. I feel bad because I recognize that if I'm asleep I'm not contributing to the night stuff. So I asked my wife to wake me up when the baby wakes up, and she told me that made it so much worse and that it was like weaponized incompetence. She just doesn't want to wake me up for some reason. I am not weaponizing my heavy sleep against her, I just want her to wake me up so I can help. But like I said, she said that makes it worse, and now she's mad. Comment 1. Definitely, besides they can't possibly know everyone's situation. In my country, even regular baby monitors aren't available and people have to find resources to attend their babies. I don't think he's an asshole for asking help to wake up to actually help with the night feedings. Comment 2. I agree, there are something where if I have to make effort for you to do the task, I might as well do the task myself. I don't want to have to ask you / inform you of when the task needs to be done. I want to do it without me having to participate. That is what I am asking for when I'm asking you to take on the responsibility of the task. Being a heavy sleeper isn't his fault, but finding a solution that doesn't involve his wife being woken up is his responsibility.